Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the wonderful people here on the island of Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those who are listening throughout the Caribbean. Good evening, of course, to our friends of family in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, those in Taiwan, wherever you may happen to be. Good evening to you and welcome to another edition of On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and we hope that you're tuned in and listening. You can listen, of course, via YouTube, via Facebook, via the regular internet at www.vonradio.com, and of course 860 on your AM dial if you want to do it the old-fashioned way. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we have some ground to cover, and so I am here as always. My name is Mark Brantley. I'm the Premier of Nevis, but also the host of the show, and I've been the host of the show for the past 20 years or so, and I'm grateful to God that we're still here, grateful to the law firm of Daniel Brantley, which has been the financier of this show for those 20 years. They have spent a significant amount of money ensuring that this show stays on air and that we have a voice, you and I, so we can discuss matters that are of importance. I say thank you to Von Radio, to Weber Herbert in particular, for continuing to allow me this privilege, and yes, it is a privilege, to be here every Wednesday to have a conversation with you, the people of Nevis and St. Kitts, both at home and those in the diaspora. So I am truly grateful, and we of course continue to be grateful to God for strength and health and the ability to be here. I am here most times. I try to be between 8 and 10 on a Wednesday, and when I can't be here, then from time to time the show is hosted by the Honorable Eric Evil and the Honorable Troy Liebert, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and others who have come from time to time and hosted the show, and I say thank you to them as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, as I said, some ground to cover this evening. I start the evening by expressing my condolences to all of those who have lost loved ones or who are going through a bad patch right now. I ask you to hold on, to continue to pray, and we continue to pray for you. In our prayers, let us remember those who are less fortunate, let us remember our neighbors, and let us continue to try and work with each other and assist each other. All that for me is of critical importance, that we continue to be our brother's keeper and our sister's helper. For those who are celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, as the case may be, I, of course, extend warm greetings to you and pray and hope that you continue to celebrate in a grand way. Allow me, though, ladies and gentlemen, to say a word about my friend John Arthurton. John Arthurton has passed on at a very young age. He was only 56 years old. And he has been a policeman, but also best known as the bailiff of the High Court for a very long time. John was a no-nonsense type of individual. Everybody knew him. Everybody admired him, his work ethic. He was incredibly helpful to all of us. I have known him for all my life. He and I are the same age, and I have known his family. I want to take the opportunity to express to his wife, Mentress, and his children, to his mom, Hilly, and to his family, his siblings, his extended family, my very, very deep and heartfelt condolences. John was a genuine person. He was a genuine friend, and I know he'll be missed by us all. The suddenness of his passing was quite shocking to all of us, and so I would wish to join the voices of so many in extending my condolences to him, to his family, and those that survive him. I am not yet certain what the arrangements are going to be, but certainly I know that whatever time he is laid to rest, it will be a significant turnout for him and for his family because of the memories that he has left behind. And so, Hilly, Mentress, if you all are listening, please accept my deep condolences from all of us here at Von Radio. In that same vein, I must also mention the passing of my former neighbor, Carlton Nisbet, and my friend. Carlton Gung, as we call him, it was a staple in the Brownhill community. And I was very, very shocked to learn that he had passed. It was only during Christmas that he and I had a conversation as I went there to visit. And I was very saddened to hear from his daughter that he had passed on. I didn't and wasn't aware that his condition was such that there was a risk of him passing. And so I want to extend to Idris and the children and to the extended family of Carlton Gung Nisbet my deepest condolences. May all of you who are now mourning, know that we are praying for you and that you're in our prayers. And it is my hope that the prayers of the multitude will comfort you in your hour of bereavement. Death is something we must all face. Nevertheless, most of us are not prepared for it. While we know that it is inevitable, we somehow pray that it will stay far from us for as long as possible. But it will come when it will come. And therefore, it is for all of us who are still alive to try and prepare ourselves for meeting our Maker and for getting to that point when we have to cross over. I would want to, as I say, extend my deepest condolences to those who are mourning. And Idris and the family, if you're listening, Mentris, Hilly, if you're listening, please accept my condolences. Ladies and gentlemen, this week has been an interesting week thus far. I have a few things to report on, and then I, of course, will open the lines as is my custom. I will hope tonight not to be overly long, because I realize that in shows gone past, some people have tried to get in rather late and could not get their quota in terms of what they have to put on the table. And at the end of the day, this show is not about me, this show is about us. It's about a conversation as we continue to try to ventilate the issues in our country that impact us all. I want to report that yesterday, Tuesday, I would have spent the day on St. Kitts attending the OECS Ministers of Energy Conference, which attracted ministers from around the region, but also technocrats from the OECS Secretariat. The Director General, Dedicus Jules, was there, and also, of course, third-party agencies that are working on renewable energy in the region. I was afforded the privilege of saying a few words, along, of course, with Congress Maynard, Federal Minister, and our own Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew. During the course of that discussions, Dr. Drew would have disclosed that through the partnership that we have forged, he now has had confirmation that St. Kitts and Nevis, in order to try and develop this geothermal resource, now has all of the money necessary for the drilling phase. You will recall, ladies and gentlemen, that we had secured some 2 years ago now $17 million from the Caribbean Development Bank. That money is still available to us. It has been allocated for this project. However, it was not enough to do the drilling that we are seeking to do. And just so you understand what I'm talking about, this is now the drilling of the production wells. We have already dug exploration wells at Hamilton and at other places. This now is our time to dig the production wells, which are wells that have a much larger diameter. And these are the wells now that will feed the plant, and that plant will generate the geothermal energy. The problem was that we intend to do three production and 2 re-injection wells, so 5 wells altogether. Bear in mind that these are wells going thousands of feet into the Earth's crust. It is a very technical role to do this drilling, and only a few firms in the world are capable of doing it. We went out to tender over a year ago, and that tender failed. There were no responsive bids. There were a number of problems. We were told the form of bid documents was not entirely appropriate to geothermal, but we recognize that this is the first time that the CDB is doing a geothermal project, and so we're working with them and with the consultants. It took us quite a significant amount of time to try and revise the bid documents, but I'm pleased to say that just before Christmas we went back out to bid, and we selected, I believe, I'm told it was 9 of the world's leading drillers to bid again on this project, and the bids are to be returned at the end of this month. And one of the concerns as well by bidders is that they said we were asking for 5 wells, but we only had funding of $17 million, which was not enough to pay for the 5 wells. And so they had a question of how the funding gap was going to be filled. I have been in constant discussions with the Honorable Prime Minister. As the people of St. Kitts and Nevis know, we would have passed a resolution in the National Assembly at the end of 2023, where we agreed that we will exploit the geothermal resource for the benefit of all the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Put differently, that the man in Keon should be able to get cheaper, cleaner geothermal energy, just like the man in Cotton Ground. Of course, we will build out the plant in Nevis and seek to electrify the island of Nevis, because this is where the resource is, but it is the intention to interconnect with St. Kitts so that we can feed Skellig and the grid in St. Kitts as well. That is the plan. An ambitious plan, to be sure, but that is the plan on which we're working, and on which the Prime Minister and I, as Premier of Nevis, that we have agreed. And so I reached out to the Prime Minister, and we have been working together to see what the possibilities are for additional funding, so that these drillers can have the comfort of knowing that for the drilling phase we have sufficient money to satisfy them. And so we would have engaged. I think the public would know that various agencies and governments have come, and I am pleased that the Prime Minister made the announcement that we have now had the full commitment to fund the drilling phase. And so therefore the issue now of any difficulty, that issue has evaporated. I want to thank him. I want to thank the Honorable Congress Maynard. They have worked hard on this in interacting with international governments, and I want to, of course, continue to say to our people that this is real. This is not a dream. This is not an empty promise. This is real. And now we're hopeful that by the end of this month, once drillers have bid and the successful bid is selected, that we can finally move on with this project and have the production wells done. Once that is done, then we will, simultaneously with that happening, be in a position to now talk to investors about the plant. That is the construction of the plant, and of course the management and operation going forward of that venture. It is and has been my ambition that the people of Nevis and now the people of St. Kitts should benefit from cleaner, cheaper energy. And if we can benefit from cleaner, cheaper energy, then it has a tremendous impact in terms of lowering our cost of living and lowering our cost of doing business. We know that the cost of electricity is a significant cost for most businesses and for most households. On St. Kitts, they have tried for years to shield persons through subsidies. We have done the same on Nevis. Nevertheless, people still complain that the cost of power is too high. And that is because St. Kitts and Nevis, we pay some of the highest power costs in the region. And that has been a difficulty, because even with those high costs to you, the consumer, Nevlec and Skellig both are still struggling. So it means that we are having a problem. And just a few days ago, I was advised by Nevlec that again diesel prices are starting to increase. People ask me sometimes on this show, why are you talking about Ukraine and Russia war? Why are you talking about war in the Middle East? It's because wherever there's instability, particularly where that instability impacts petroleum producing nations, problems in Venezuela, problems in Russia, problems in Iran, all of those are major producers of oil. Once that happens, we are not immune from it here in Little Nevis. And so we have to always pay attention. I continue to say to our people, be engaged and pay attention and understand how the world is interconnected. The fact that you're in Jessups or you're in Rollins and you feel I'm far away from Gaza, I'm far away from Tehran, I'm far away from Caracas, I don't even know where Ukraine is, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, those wars and rumors of wars and instability impact us through increased commodity costs. And that is a major problem that we have to be mindful of. And so diesel prices are starting to creep up again. And when that happens, it puts immense pressure on all of us, on you, on Nevlec, on the businesses on the island, and also, of course, on the government. And so it is imperative that we get geothermal done. Not next year or the year after, but that we do what is necessary this year, 2025. Yesterday, I was also able to meet with the Honorable Prime Minister in a closed meeting. He and I have committed to meeting periodically to have discussions about St. Kitts and Nevis, where we are, what our priorities are, what's happening. We have some major projects that we hope to be able to announce on the island of Nevis. Private sector projects, not government projects. And so we had some discussions about that, and also some major projects on St. Kitts. I believe, and I continue to say, that it is important for the Prime Minister and the Premier to engage. At this point in our history, the Prime Minister is Dr. Terence Drew. At this point in our history, the Premier is Mark Brantley. We engage because it is important that St. Kitts and Nevis continues as one country to engage one island to the next. The federal government engaging with the Nevis Island administration. It is better to be in a position where we could have a conversation than the alternative where we're not talking to each other. You certainly can get more done, even when you don't necessarily agree, when there's an understanding of what it is that is being done. It is also important, and that has been my posture as leader of the opposition, to engage with the Prime Minister so that I understand what it is that he is seeking to do, what it is his government is seeking to do, what legislative agenda we'll be looking at in the National Parliament, and so be able to lend my voice as a proud representative of the people of St. John's and St. Paul's Nevis 9, but also as the leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement and the largest block of seats in the opposition, the Concerned Citizens Movement. We control all of the seats on the island of Nevis federally, and therefore we feel we have an obligation to engage, and to engage constructively. It therefore has befuddled me as to why the opposition in Nevis continues to attack every time there is a meeting between the Premier and Prime Minister. Every time there's a meeting between the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition, it seems to be a problem. I am saying that the old dated ways of doing things, where every day we cuss each other, that doesn't lead to any results. I am here. I have been the Premier of this island since 2017 December. We have weathered the storms in terms of COVID-19. We have had difficulties in terms of oil prices, the price and cost of living, crime. We've had a number of issues. And I believe it is a matter of great regret, certainly on my part, that I have had no approach from the NRP to engage. None. As the second major party on the island of Nevis, one would think that they would have had an interest in sitting down, in their representative or representatives coming to say that as representative, well, they only have one now in St. James, this is what the people of St. James would like to look at. This is what they would need in St. James. That has not happened, not even once. And so, from St. James, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers is still the person who comes and says, this needs to be done, a road needs to be looked at, some drainage works need to be done, housing needs to be attended to, people in the community need to be attended to, because there's no other representation. And why is that? And I'll explain. The reason for that is that these people have adopted such a vitriolic approach, such an angry and hateful approach, that even to sit in the same room and have a discussion about matters impacting their constituencies and impacting the island of Nevis, they can't bring themselves to do that. That is the harsh irony. I must say, and I say it publicly, that the Honorable Cleone Stapleton Simmons, who was running St. Thomas's and had been elected by the people of St. Thomas's, that notwithstanding she has been evicted from the NRP, she is the only one in opposition who consistently writes and reaches out on matters impacting her constituency. The Honorable Latoya Jones does the same, although she's not elected in St. Thomas's. And so St. Thomas's people, you have at least two people who continue to reach out and to say to the government, this needs to be done and that needs to be done. St. James, you better say thank God for Alexis Jeffers, because he's still the only person who comes to the government to say anything about St. James. If it were left up to the elected representative of St. James, we would have no representation to the government at all. And that I say quite genuinely, because for me, dialogue is important. I keep saying, you don't need to like me. Once my wife and my 2 children like me, I'm good. You don't need to invite me to your house for drinks or for dinner. Through the grace of God, I have a house of my own where I have food and drink. So we don't need to be friends. But when we're talking about matters of this island of Nevis that we all claim to love, and when we talk about putting our people first, if our people have voted in an election and voted for an individual because they want representation, you hear the term that is used to describe us, we are representatives. Well, how can you be a representative when you bring nothing to the table on behalf of your people that you're supposed to represent? How can you be a representative when you're so angry and so hateful and so vitriolic that you can't even engage with the government of the day to say, listen, this is what the people of St. James need. These are the concerns in St. James. The people of St. James decided that they wanted a different representative. But yet, it is the former representative who comes and who speaks to government on behalf of St. James, because the person elected is nowhere to be found. These are not matters that I bring to you lightly, because these are issues, ladies and gentlemen, that we must talk about. Some people seem to think that public service is about friendship. They seem to feel that public service is about people who think like me and vote for me. Well, if half the island is voting one way and the other half is voting the other way, you realize where that kind of thinking would get us? It means that every 5 years, half of Nevis is cut off. Half of Nevis is left outside in the yard. Nevis only has 13,500 people. Right now I'm begging all who may come, particularly our people abroad, to come home. But on this island you have some who remove themselves. All they can do is go on internet and cuss. Not one constructive thought, not one attempt at engagement with the government to say, on behalf of the people that we represent, this is what we would like to see and do. It simply has not happened. And basically the way I see things going now, it's not going to happen. But that's okay, St. James. That's okay. Because I have said that St. James is CCM country, and St. James remains CCM country. And notwithstanding what happened in the last election, we are not going to abandon St. James. We are not going to abandon St. Thomas's. We are certainly not going to abandon St. Paul's, St. John's, or St. George. We are a government for everybody on this island, and we will continue to do that. I have got blows for it. Some of my own party supporters have said, oh, look at Tom or look at Harry. They get a position, they get a contract, they get work, and they don't support this government. And my response has been that we cannot continue in a situation where we exclude half the island because we assume that they vote one way or the other. We have to create the environment where all of our people can lend their talents. People only vote once every 5 years. So once you don't vote once every 5 years, what are you going to do for the next 5 years? Some have decided that for the next 5 years, all they're going to do is cuss, rant and rave. If they go down the road and they see a pothole, they take a picture, they put it up on Facebook, and they create a whole scenario over that. And when, as we have seen, they don't have something to talk about, they just manufacture it. So we had the famous, or perhaps I should say infamous, cockroach story of schools being infested with cockroaches, completely manufactured. If there's no crisis, then manufacture a crisis. I am happy to say, ladies and gentlemen, that despite our challenges, the island of Nevis continues to progress. A few days ago, I was afforded the opportunity to go to Upper Jessops to visit a new development there called Palm Gardens. I want to publicly thank Mr. Jacob Katzman, who came in. And the irony is that while the opposition in Nevis keeps saying we are not attracting investors, investors are coming, they're all around us. But when I went, I remember when that project was announced. He's doing two projects. He's doing a 6-acre project up in Upper Jessops, and he's also doing some high-end villas there in the Clifton Estate area, Cades Bay Clifton Estate area. And I remember very well when these projects were announced. The usual happened. The spokespeople for the NRP start to bash and start to say, oh, the man came here and the man is doing this and that, and the man building a private home, and the people of Nevis are this and that and the other. But as I get older, I realize the response to a lot of this is God and time. God and time. Allow God to do his work and allow time to do its work. Because when I went up to Palm Gardens in Upper Jessops and I saw what has been created there, brothers and sisters, let me tell you, it is nothing short of remarkable. I was there, my good brother Mackie France is the manager there, and the entire team, local guys who are doing that work up there. Absolutely fantastic. When they're finished, they'll have some first-class meeting spaces for weddings, receptions, other activities. They're going to have a rum bar. They have adequate parking. They have accommodation. Beautiful, beautiful property. And I say thank you to Mr. Katzman. He's invested millions of dollars. When the naysayers start to bray, when they start to bray, I use the word bray because we know what animals bray. All we need to do sometimes is just ignore the noise and allow God and time to do their work. Because again, the attacks, and I have always been confused. On the one hand, you will argue there are no investors. What they say? The investors out to sea. But the investors are coming ashore in droves. And when they come ashore, they start to attack them. You remember the 6-person protest they had at the Vance Hammer International Airport? Protesting that we are trying to develop the airport. They write all kinds of things about Mr. Drahi. Mr. Drahi is a billionaire who has made Nevis his home and wants to help. All kind of nasty things they write about him. You all remember when MSR came to make movies? All kinds of nasty things they wrote about MSR, only to find out from MSR that one of them who criticized him came and begged a job. Say he vexed because he not getting nothing out the deal. That has been the nature. And I'm saying to our people, listen, allow God and time to do their work and just ignore the foolish noise. Let us press on with what we're doing. Palm Gardens, beautiful development. And at the same time, Mr. Katzman is doing Palm Gardens. His company Platinum is also doing these villas there at Cades Bay, Clifton Estate area. The evidence is there in terms of what's happening, what's going on, the construction sector, and all that we've done to continue to boost construction and construction activity on the island. As I mentioned that, and as I continue to mention investment, I want to congratulate the investors who are now about to open a new French bistro, bakery and bar called Mojo's, which is going to be done right there at Belmont, right across from the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park. I am delighted at what I'm seeing in terms of development, in terms of investment, in terms of persons saying that Nevis is where they want to be and that they have confidence investing. And regardless of what some may say, no investor is going to invest unless they are confident. Confident in the economy, confident in the stability of the island, confident that their dollar can earn for them right here on the island of Nevis. Every person who invests on this island is saying that I have confidence in this government and confidence in this island. Don't take my word for it. Go around. Look around. Look at the bars and restaurants. Look at the various businesses, small and not so small, that have opened their doors. Look at the law firms and the accounting firms. Look at international banks. Look around us. See what is going on. See the level of construction that is going on. Home construction, business construction. You know, I drove through recently and I said right there above Old House Cafe on Pump Road, there's a building going on. Right next to the Bath Stream, there's a building going on. Just there in the heart of Charlestown, next to the main square, building has just been finished. If you go up the street there next to the Methodist Church, a big building going up there. If you come across where Erm's Fancy Store used to be, that has been bought and is being renovated. Construction happening, commercial and domestic. People are not investing significant sums where they have no confidence. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is important. Now it takes me at half hour past the hour of 8 o'clock to a main issue that I would want to get to tonight, and that has to do with the Bath Stream. We took a decision that the Bath Stream, which has always been one of our biggest assets, widely used both locally and a significant attraction for visitors to our island, that we would invest in improving the Bath Stream. Lest we forget, at the Bath Stream as it was, there were no bathroom facilities, there were no changing rooms, and the whole area there was frankly run down. We took a hard look at it and we said, you know, if this is going to be a premier attraction for the island, if this is going to be somewhere where locals and visitors alike ought to be brought to enjoy not just the stream but the leisure, to read a book, to relax, to have a cold drink, to have a cup of tea, whatever it may be, to paint, to write, to allow your creative juices to flow, or simply to spend some quality time with your family, that we had to improve the aesthetics. And so we spent, I believe the number was just over 800,000 EC dollars. We created parking, we created proper security, we created lighting, we created bathroom facilities, we created changing rooms, we created a beautiful space there with waterfalls and flowers and seating areas and little alcoves where people can go and relax themselves. There's a small cafe there. And the idea really that all of us will have now a much cleaner and better environment that we can enjoy. That was the level of investment that we made. We hired people. We said, listen, rather than having a voluntary team there cleaning the stream from time to time, we now have full-time staff. We have landscaping staff. We have staff that is doing the cleaning. We have people who are doing cleaning the bathrooms and keeping them clean. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one would have thought that these improvements would be the pride of Nevis. But you see, there's some people among us who, whether for politics or otherwise, don't want to see this island progress. So if you're accustomed to go Bath Stream, and if you wanted to use the bathroom, you went around in some bush, that's what they want to continue. If a busload of tourists come and the people want to use the bathroom and they must go in the back in some bush, that's what they want to continue, because that gives them ammunition to then say, oh, you all say you all got tourism, you all say this and that, but you all are not doing anything. Well, we went ahead. It is not my money that was spent. It is your money. It is taxpayers' money. I did not put my hand in my pocket. And so I have come here from time to time and say to our people, let us take care of these investments. I came here some weeks ago to say somebody went down there and thought it best to mash up the signs. We put up signage, we put up the rules of using the facility. Now we have some locals now who are up in arms and protesting. And I say, what are you protesting? And I've had a few calls from some of them. And I believe in transparency and openness. We put some rules in place. The rules are intended to allow everybody to enjoy the stream. First of all, we now have expenses. We have management down there. We have staff down there. We have to pay them. So we came up with something and we say, listen, if you are a resident here, St. Kitts or Nevis, you use the pools for free. F-R-E-E, free. Nothing has changed. But if you are a tourist or visitor, you pay $5. To ensure that we can collect that, they have now an entry point where the coastal buses with the tourists, etc., drive in, and there's a point there where we can collect from them that $5 per person. The idea really is to help the government to make a little something to help to defray the costs associated with keeping the Bath stream in its pristine condition. We also said, listen, we don't want any nudity in the stream. Nudity, might I remind our people, public nudity is against the law. So we said, men, women, please, if you're going to use the Bath stream during opening hours, then please put on your swimsuit or put on your pair of trunks, swimming trunks or your shorts, but please do not go in the pool naked. Oh, big hullabaloo. We're accustomed to bathe naked. And I'm saying to our people, listen, there are lots of things that we were accustomed to do. But with modernization, with development, we no longer do them. Down Hanley's Road when I was a little boy, there used to be a man down at the bottom of Hanley's Road. Used to take out people's teeth with a pair of pliers. When you had a toothache, you went down the road and they take a pair of pliers and pull out your tooth. Nobody's doing that now. We now have dentists, we have oral surgeons, we have... The point I'm making is that there is something called progress, there's something called development. And if it is that we used to be down there, men and women stark naked in the pools, we're saying not to do that because it impacts the ability of others who may want to use the pool. If you're a young lady, young man, going to use the pool, your school group, the netballers, your primary schoolers. Imagine children will be down there, especially now this is time for athletics. And you say, well, let me carry the athletes to soak in the pool, and big hard back man down there want to be in the pool naked. So we have said, no, please do not do that. The pool is open after hours. If people want to come after hours and soak, that is alright. But during the hours, please do not do that. Big hullabaloo. And I'm going to say it here tonight, a lot of that is political. People who are opposed to the government can't bring themselves to understand that with improvement, with advancement, we have rules that are now in place. The other issue has to do with a practice that some have of using soap and using other chemicals in the pool. We have again said to our people, please refrain from using soaps and other chemicals in the pool. I heard one person say, oh, that's what we're accustomed to and nobody going to stop us. I'm saying, let us be mindful of other people. Just recently there was an incident there. A local lady went into the pool. She have all kind of chemicals mixed up in a bottle. Some other people were using the same pool that she was in. And I gather they asked her, please ma'am, could you not, because we don't know what your chemicals are. We don't know what you have in your bottle. But you have come with your bottle and you're using your chemicals and we don't know how that might affect us. So could you please go into the other pool that is still there? If people want to do that, there is a pool there for that. Could you go into that pool? Big hullabaloo. I'm told that the conversation soon became about me because that person is an NRP activist. So they're cussing me because they want to use chemicals in the pool, and somebody else who's equally entitled to use the pool is saying, I am not sure if your chemicals will affect me and my family. Could you not do it? You know, I keep talking here, ladies and gentlemen, about looking out for each other. And I keep saying that this island here, we have some people who think that it's all about self. Once they're getting through, once they could do what they want, they couldn't care less about anybody else. So I come right next to you and I set up my garage to fix car, and I park up car all over. Rat, roachy, it doesn't matter because I am doing what I want to do. To hell with you. I play my music as loud as I can in my house. If you can't sleep in your house, that's your business. I drive my car, my motorcycle through the neighborhood as loud and rev it up. If that affects you, that's your business. I run my water out my yard. When I wash all my water from my sink into your yard or into the government road, that's your business. Because I am getting what I want. And all I'm saying to our people is, listen, be mindful of others. Be mindful of others. The other day I made the comment in the parliament that you go to some bars here in Nevis now, you go to have a drink, you go to have something to eat, and these fellas are sitting down there wrapping up the spliff on the bar stools and lighting up. Rather than going somewhere to enjoy what it is they're enjoying, they feel that their smoke, you must inhale their smoke. Even in big countries in the United States and elsewhere, they have smoking areas. I see big winter come, some people outside the building huddling up and smoking because they can't smoke inside. We have to be mindful of the comfort of others while we are seeking our own comfort. And so you go into the stream, you have your soap, you have your concoction, you have your whatever. But what about the other people who are using the same water? The people in the same pool with you, who just come there to soak. Them don't want no soap, they don't want your soap on them. Because they don't know what your soap having. They don't want your chemicals on them. And what we are saying simply is not that we've stopped it, we said, listen, there is an area if you want to do that. But please don't do it in the main pools. And big hullabaloo. I'm told again, another activist for NRP go down here telling people, oh, don't study them, they can't enforce no rules down here because these rules are not law. And I said, but what stupidity. That fella, as far as I know, used to have some business place. So if he put up his business place and he said, well, this is not allowed, that is not allowed, well, you going to tell him, well, it wasn't passed in the parliament and therefore you can't enforce it? We are a society of rules. And if we have spent so much money to develop the Bath Stream, we have created, ladies and gentlemen, don't take my word for it, go there for yourself. It is absolutely beautiful. Why is it that our people have so many issues with it? We say that our people are free to use the Bath Stream. We put out the policy, and the policy says that once you are a resident, you have ID to show that you're a resident, you use it for free. If you are a visitor, you pay $5 US. Oh, when we got to show ID? Well, come on, it's common sense. If somebody knows you and they know you're local, they wouldn't ask you for any ID. But when you set out the rule, you have to set out and articulate what the rule is. So the rule is that residents use the pool for free. Well, if there's a question, because the people who work there don't know every single person in St. Kitts and Nevis. So if there's a question as to whether you're a resident or a visitor, they have every right to say, well, do you have some form of identification? But if you're somebody who everybody knows, Somebody who's a regular user of the pool, that doesn't impact you. Why the big hullabaloo and the big noise? We as a cabinet bent over and we said, listen, let us do everything we can to ensure that our local people have access to that facility without having any charge on them. Many people were saying, oh, let everybody pay something to maintain. And we said, you know what? Let us put a nominal charge on the visitors, but keep it free for locals. And even that appears now to be a big thing. Somebody reach out to me and tell me, nobody own down there belong to all of we, and we're going to do what we want down there. And I'm not understanding, ladies and gentlemen. Another fellow reach out to me and tell me, oh, I'll fix it down there for white people. Well, I say, well, what does that mean? So, having bathrooms, having changing rooms, having places to sit, having a cafe where you could enjoy a local drink or cup of tea, or that is for white people? Making it free after all that investment for our local people, but asking the visitor to pay, that is for white people? It's almost as if there is something in us sometimes where we are saying, well, this thing's so nice that it's not for me. And I don't understand that, because everything that is nice is supposed to be for us. I say it all the time as Premier of this island. Whenever I develop Nevis, I develop Nevis for Nevisians. If others come and enjoy it, praise be to God. But whatever we have here should be for us, has to be for us. And we ought not to tell ourselves that something is too good for us. But for God's sake, I'm appealing to our people. Improvement, progress, you can't stop it. Somebody said to me, oh, people are accustomed to go and bathe because people ain't got a bathroom home. I said, well, that might have been the case a long ago. But that is not the case in Nevis today. So when you had people who had to go there to take their bath, Nevis now has 24/7 running water. 24/7 running water. Everywhere in Nevis has pipe water that's available to you. You no longer have to go to the hot stream to get a bath. You should be going to the hot stream to relax, to use the baths for leisure. Times have changed. I could understand you did that when you did not have access to water at home, but you do now. You shower at home now because the island has developed. People used to go there and go in all kind of bush, and worse, some used to relieve themselves in the stream itself. We have said no, that is unsanitary, and we have created bathrooms. Well, how you could be vexed with that? What you think? People really think they have a right to go and sit down in the pool and relieve themselves in the pool? I mean, I don't even know why I have to come on radio to talk about these things. Because to me, they just make no sense. These people who are saying, I saw Abby, a customer do it and nobody gonna change Abby. Well, you're accustomed to go and defecate in the pool, and you think that that should continue? Because that is good behavior? That is healthy and decent and sanitary? This is the thing that I don't get from some of our people. Thankfully, it is a small minority. But nevertheless, when I hear people who are supposed to have sense telling people, nobody could tell me nothing, nobody could enforce no rules down here because it wasn't passed in the house. I'm saying to our people, what do we have to do to get your cooperation? What do we have to do to get you to understand that the world is not just about you, and what you do has an impact on other people? Which of us would like to take our church group, our seniors, our children, youth group, our young athletes to the pool, and big hardback man and woman down there stark naked? Which of us would like that. We need to consider these things. People mix up all kind of thing. They mix up bush, lotion, all kind of concoction. They want to go into the pool with that. What about the other person who's sitting next to you in the pool? Don't know nothing about your concoction and don't want your concoction to touch their skin. What about them? Are they less than you? Less important than you? I mean, what is it about our people? That small minority of our people, that is all about their selfish desire. It's about them. All of self, none of thee. So I must use the thing however I want to use it. If you don't like it or it affect you, that's your business. You come down here with your church group to use the pan, me a customer use it naked, you're not going to stop me. And if you don't like it, that's your business. Well, just how the argument is that the pan doesn't belong to the church group, it doesn't belong to you either. So how you get all these rights and other people have none? And so we're encouraging our people. That's all I continue to do, you know. As a leader of this island, I continue to encourage. And I hope that others will join me in encouraging our people. Because we used to do something one way doesn't mean that with progress we can't change. We used to use coal pot to cook everything. We used to get fish and pork, cut it up, can it. One of young people know what I mean to can fish and can pork. Take salt and put salt in it and hang it up on the outside of your house. We used to get pork and fish nailed to the house, and when you go you cut off a piece to go and cook. Well, now refrigeration come in. What are you going to tell me? That we mustn't advance, we mustn't improve? It is not that we are disrespecting our culture. What we're doing is saying that we have, with improvements, with modernity, with advancements, we as a society need to advance. And so I don't understand, ladies and gentlemen, why that few people, those few people, continue to create all of these problems for a project that everybody who has gone there says is so beautiful. Well, if it's so beautiful, why you want to mash it up? Why you want to abuse it? Why, if there are bathrooms there, you insist that you must go and relieve yourself in the bush, or worse yet, in the pools? Why, if we have said, please, if you're going to use soap and whatever thing, do not use it in the main pools, because this is where other people use. And there's a big thing about that. Why, when we introduce rules, you're going to tell us you're not following no rules? Why? And I encourage our people, yeah? That's all I could do. I encourage our people, because I know as Navisions we can do better, and when we can do better, we should do better. That's my soliloquy. It is 5 minutes to 9. I'm going to open the phones. Good evening to all. If you want to call, the numbers are 469-1616, 469-1700. We're going to open the phones now and take your calls, and the phone is lit up already, so let's go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
The Sheriff, good night.
Good evening to you, my dear.
Sympathies going out to Hilly and the passing of her son, and to Joel and her family over there in Brown Hill. Mark 37 verse 36 and 37. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold, the upright of the end of that man is peace. Congratulations going out to all the 17 years old boys, for winning the have a national player. And to my wonderful grandson, Nizai, who got picked from Nevis, the only person that get picked from Nevis that is a national player, was St. Kitts.
So what?
Grandma, love you.
Hold on. Hold on. National playing what sport?
Football.
Football. Okay.
He's the only person from Nevis under 17, and he'll be leaving out in a few. I'm proud of him.
I am proud of him too, and I congratulate him, and I know you're a proud grandma, so I pray and hope that he does well, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful as always. Our first caller tends to be this young woman who calls in with a scripture for us, and we are truly grateful for that. But the lines are open. I have raised a couple of matters. You may have matters that you would want to raise yourself, and the numbers again to call: 469-1616, 469-1700. Those are the numbers if you want to be a part of this show this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to talk about development on this island. We continue to talk about progress on this island. And as I've indicated, I am very optimistic that we are going to have some significant plans of private sector investment to announce shortly. But before I do that, let me go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hey, Mr. Mark, good evening. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Good evening to you.
Good evening. Am I on the air?
You are on the ear. Yes, everybody's listening to you.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Mark, the Premier. Good evening to Nevisians and citizens around the world. This is Jermaine out of Boston.
Yay. How you doing?
Mr. Mark, I want to stay on your line for a few minutes and just run a few topics to you. Are you listening to me?
I'm listening to you.
Okay, I'm going to start. Just give me a 2 minutes of your time, please. Nevisians around listening. I was on your island, which is Nevis. Very beautiful island of Nevis. And I came down for a funeral. And very sad occasion. While I was there, I went over to the same bar that you're speaking of. And I had a confrontation with the manager over there. And I'm one of the first persons to tell you if you're wrong or if you're right. But on the other end, I'm not a fighter. I will tell you exactly what I'm saying. At the end of the day, we are finished. We are friends. Okay? And also, while I was there, I came around 3:30 in the afternoon. And around 4 p.m., I wanted to use the restroom. I run to your manager on site, and I said, hey, where is the restroom? And he turned and he said to me, the restroom is closed. I said, hey, where can I take a pee? And he says, you can't take a pee around it. I said, I really want to pee, man. Where can I take a pee? I'm a Nevisian by adoption. And I tried to come to Nevis because Nevis is where I'm going to retire. I love Nevis. I was adopted here. I love Nevis. And he turned to me and he said to me, you can't take a pee around it. I said, man, I got to pee. Where can I pee? I'm not from Nevis, meaning I've not been over by the bar for a while, so I don't know where to pee, where no restroom, nothing. But if I can run from the lower end to the upper end to tell you I want to use your bathroom, he has to tell you something about me of dignity and class. You follow me? You're there?
I'm listening to you, brother. Go ahead.
And while I was there, we got into a confrontation because when I said, where can I pee? He turned and he said to me, if you ever pee anywhere, I'm going to call the police. That kicked me off because I turned and I said to him, hey, listen, I'm a Nevisian. Just tell me where to pee. Then he turned to me and he said, go over there, the bathroom is open. I said, hey, all you have to do is just simply say that we have been done. So we got in confrontation. But I'm not a fighter. I will tell you what I got to say. 2 seconds after, we are friends. So that's how I live. Okay? Meanwhile, we had the confrontation. I forgot about him. I'm in Nevis. I'm happy. I'm excited. I left Nevis the same afternoon, back down to St. Kitts on the boat. I went down on this 6 p.m. boat afternoon. But God Almighty, Mr. Mark, the next day I was called, hey, I heard you break up a sign or kick down or lick down or whatever the word is over by the Bath Village. I'm from Nevis. I love Nevis. But what I want to do tonight, I want to clear my name with the Nevisian community and the St. Kitts community where I plan to live and retire in the next few years, maybe this year, start investing in Nevis, that, hey, guess what? I'm not that type of person who is a destroyer. I love Nevis. When I look at Nevis, I see Nevis, I say, Nevis nice. So what I want to do, I want to clear my name because I've been getting phone calls, oh, I heard you kick down, whatever over by the back village. I'm innocent on everything to destroy Nevis. Nevis is my hometown. Nevis is where I love. Nevis is where I'm going to retire. Nevis people is my people. So tonight I want to clear my name that I don't have to get no phone calls to say I do anything to destroy Nevis. I was adopted in Nevis. I love Nevis. And I want to clear my name with the Nevis community that when I step foot back on Nevis, I'm looking at the person who they always look at me as, Mr. Jermaine White. So, Mr. Mark, I thank you for your time, and I clear my name with the Nevision community. Thank you, community, everybody near and far. I have nothing to do with no sign being put down, pushed down, or whatever it is. Because once I touch Nevis, I'm there to secure it, not destroy it. I thank you, Mr. Mark.
Okay, thank you very much for that, and thank you for your lengthy explanation.
One thing, I called you, but you did not answer, so that's why I came on here. So I apologize if I go about the wrong route.
No, that is all right. You said some accusations were made against you, and you've called to clear your name, so that everybody's entitled to do. Thank you for your call. I don't know who would have destroyed and vandalized the Bath stream. You have indicated quite clearly to everybody tonight that it wasn't you. But whoever did it ought to be ashamed of his or herself, because we have invested there, we have created an environment there that we think that everybody should enjoy, visitors
Correct.
and
it's
locals
a very
alike.
nice place, well put together. I applaud you for it.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good. Thank you very much. And so we've created that space there for people to enjoy. It is certainly not something that people should want to destroy. Neither destroy it in terms of the physical, nor destroy it in terms of our behaviors and attitudes there. And all that we are asking our people to do is to cooperate with us. That's all we're asking our people to do. And I don't know why that is so difficult. You want to smoke your ganja, that's a matter for you. But if you want to smoke your ganja, why you have to smoke it at the bar where other people sitting down? Smoke your ganja at home. Smoke your ganja when you with the close environment with you and those who are smoking ganja with you. That's all we're saying to people. You want to go in the bath stream naked, big man, big woman, stark naked? Well, do so after hours, when you're not impacting other people. Try to put yourself in people's shoes sometimes. And this thing about I am a ban and this, nobody gonna tell me nothing. Where in the world do you know exists without rules? You go to Brimstone Hill, you see rules. You go to Black Rocks, you see rules. You go to the caves, Harrison Cave in Barbados, there are rules. What is it that our people are so afraid of in terms of just doing things properly? Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello.
You're on the mark, please. If you can turn down your radio or computer in the back, that's coming through.
Okay.
All right, can you go ahead now, please? You're on the air. Hello?
Hi, good evening.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hi. I wanted to know if you could clarify something for me. If you are a citizen of St. Kitts, you're born here, but you have children who are born not in St. Kitts, what would be the process of those children or that child becoming a citizen? What you would probably call by descendant?
Well, if you're born here, caller, the law says that if you're born here and your child is born overseas, then you can get citizenship. That child can get citizenship through his or her parent. That's my understanding.
Right. So I'm asking, is it an application process or a registration process?
Well, you apply to have them registered as a citizen. So it's not as if they can be denied, but there's a process. You have to submit and go through the paperwork so people can be satisfied, the authorities can be satisfied that this is who they say they are.
So the question is it the same process that a person who is not a descendant will go through?
No, it's not the same process. I mean, it's the same forms, but what you have to provide is different. Let us say you're applying by way of marriage. that you have to provide the evidence of your marriage, that your marriage is subsisting, that the person you've married to is a citizen, yada yada. If it is that you're applying by way of descent, you have to provide your parents' birth certificate to show they were born here, your birth certificate that shows that this person is your parent, etc. So it may be the same form, but there are different sections to that form, so that you set out on what basis it is you're saying that you want to be a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I hope I was helpful. But usually for these matters, if you need things clarified, you can speak to your solicitor, whoever that may be, or you can sometimes go to the passport office and they will also assist you in terms of any clarification that you may need. But once you are a child of somebody born here, then by law you are entitled to claim citizenship through your parent. Okay?
Got it.
All right. You're most welcome. We're sticking with the phones and continuing to take calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. I suppose none? No, we lost that person. Please call back, caller. Let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night, Honorable.
Good night to you.
Listen, I listened to you speaking about discipline and math and all that. You know, it seems like them people want you to get rough, you know. Because it's respect. And you don't want to get into this foolish lock up and this kind of thing. But it seems like that's the road they're looking for you to do. Because you don't want to up and down locking up people and all that kind of things. So the people that don't have no God respect. That's the whole thing. It seems like you have to put them in front of the court for them to learn. That's the way I see it. When you here trying to be nice premier and this kind of thing and the behaving so, it seems like the one you behave like a chump. So I hear you speaking from week after week, Honorable. And it seems like that's down the road they want you to go. To get police involved and get them in court. And you don't want to go away. Come on, man. Come on. People have to grow up. You know, they have to learn to grow up. My wife went to the bath. She just come down. And she enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And people come on, man. Come on. Stop put politics in everything. Stop put politics in everything. And that's not what killing country today. It's nonsense. And I said, you telling people, try to learn the people about the country, how to behave. It seems like the one you go to police way and charge them and have them going to the court and let them pay money. And you don't want that. It's that I see you here preaching. You're preaching it every Wednesday from here on this show. Every Wednesday you don't want to go down the road. You don't want to go down the police road. And they have to go down the road. Just to that. Now, Honorable, I have to ask a question. I see a drawing. The drawing with for a 3 months, the fruitman and the wall. Who do that drawing? A local?
Yes, a local artist, Vaughn Anson.
Okay. Who did that one down by the airport with a coconut?
I'm not sure. Who did that one? I don't know.
Well, Honorable, that, let me tell you something. That a real drawing. Ain't no counterfeit drawing. I sit down on the bench while I was there sitting down to go out. And I admire that drawing, Honorable. That's a professional drawing. You ain't see no counterfeit thing up in the air. Hey, I give an artist credit. Who draw that coconut on the wall? And who draw Mr. Freeman. Mr. Freeman, it seems like he could blow the fruit way on the wall and the band behind it.
Yeah, well, you know, they say he was the wickedest fifer, so he was a maestro when it comes to that.
Yeah, man, I enjoy the time being there, which I will plan to for makeup, which my daughter and my son say they're going to give me a neck or give me a do, and my body to come makeup.
Okay. All right, brother.
So I want you, either if they can't hear, it seems like you got to go on a rough side, and you don't want to go on a rough side. You're a nice premier. You want to go on that dirty side, like how some premier go on with a kind of rough kind of way, and cold house and all that kind of stuff. They got to behave themselves, son.
Okay.
See, I'm listening to the show.
All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as I was extending condolences to those who would have passed, I would also want to extend condolences to the family of Robert Clark Bitt in Barnesgut. Bitt was somebody that I knew very well. In fact, on many a Saturday, I could be found in his backyard being fed by him and his family because he had the famous seafood, especially his fried fish. And I had some friends from St. Kitts who would come every weekend and we would go there. So I just wanted to extend to his family, his wife and his children and his mom. I visited with them, but I wanted to say publicly as well that I extend my heartfelt condolences to the family and in all of Barnesgut, because Bitt really was a staple in Barnesgut. And so I will miss Bitt very much. He was a very kind person, a very gentle person, always a quick smile, always willing to help. And I've ate a lot of his food over the years. And so to his family, I extend my deepest condolences, and we hope and pray that our prayers will comfort you in your time of bereavement. Let's go back to the phones now and continue to take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Premier Brantley.
Good evening, my brother.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man.
Well, you're talking something tonight that touched a nerve on me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I lived in Bath for 30-something years.
Yes.
I own property in that village. I'm from Cox, but I lived in Bath 30 plus years, and I have property in Bath. And I understand that the Bath stream is a national treasure. And, you know, sometimes you tell your children, don't do this, don't do that. And then sometimes you have to go on a little further and explain to them the reason why you're asking them not to do it, and show them the benefits that they would gain if they follow the instructions. So, you're asking the people to conduct themselves in a proper way. And one of the things that I believe some people, as you alluded to, was saying, oh, them do it to the tourists. As if to say that if a country has a national treasure and the country can derive some revenue from that because the tourists will come and enjoy it, anything is wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
You've made it clear that the locals have access to it, but yes, you can also say, yes, we are looking to derive some funds from it too. Because what is wrong with that? In every country in the world that is the case. In some countries where they have certain minerals and so on, and those minerals are sometimes on private people land, but those people cannot develop those things and bring it to the point where they will gain from it, and the government has to take it over and develop the thing to benefit everybody in the country. You need to, well, I don't know, but this need to be, let me just say, this need to be explained to the people. that what the government is looking to do also is to get some funds from the place to help the country. What is wrong with that? So what people are talking about, oh, they do it for the tourists. You do it for everybody. Whether you develop the place or not, these tourists were still going there and using it for free. I live in Bath, I see them all the time. They were going there and using it for free. So what if the government recognize that this is something that we can develop properly and make it a national treasure and bring 10,000 to the treasury for the benefit of everybody in the country? What is wrong with that? Who could be telling people them kind of foolishness, but that is what the government is doing when we know that's not true? You know, when I talk on this radio, I try to be fair. I don't want to talk about no politics and them thing there. I'm talking about something that would benefit everybody. I mean, the people need to understand what the government is trying to do, and people must understand that government is not necessarily system and happy. Government is a mechanism, and to me, and whoever win, so go into the government, and the government job is to try to do their best to harness whatever resource in the country to the benefit of the country. And if it is that the Bath Stream is, which the Bath Stream is one of the most historic places in the Caribbean. I don't know if some people know the significance of the Bath Stream, and I don't know whether they understand, but I'm going to call upon the people and to explain to them that yes, part of it is that the government is trying to develop the place and bring it to a point where you can make a little revenue from it too. And if that is the case, and you say, well, 40 years ago you used to go down there, run down the anyhow and jump in the stream, but now we want to regularize it a bit and so on. What is wrong with that? Brantley,
I'm listening to you, brother.
What is wrong with that? I travel to all kind of countries. The country them have certain resource, and the government develop the resource and make a little something from it. They don't stop the nationals from using it. So, but sometimes they charge even the nationals a minimal fee too. Prospect Park, all of them up in New York and so on. Sometimes some place you go, you have to pay a minimal fee, and then some people have to pay a little higher fee. What is wrong with that? The people need, people need to understand where the government is going with this thing. It's not that they're trying to deprive you, but you're looking to harness the resource in the country. We don't have much things here, and that is one of the best things we have.
Well, brother, it is a concern because what you say is correct, and our people are people who travel. Our people go all around the world. I was in Switzerland last year, and my wife and I went to a historic site there. It was 30 euros that we had to pay each to go in there because they have to upkeep the place. They have staff. They have you go to the Bronx Zoo. You got to pay to go in. You go Brimstone Hill. You got to pay. I go to the national park. Then you have to pay something to go and see the animals and all those things. You go Masai Mara, you have to pay. And what we have done here, you have to regularize it, otherwise everybody will just come and do any old thing. That's the point, and what we have done here is simply say it's free to our local people, but as you say, we're just asking people to conduct themselves in a particular way.
See, if you could explain to them a little more the benefits from the Daddy, what you folks are trying to do, because I don't know what to say. This point doesn't need to be labored. Nobody need to labor that point, and nobody from no opposition should be discouraging people from doing it, because who knows, next election the opposition is in the government. That's a possibility too. And so what you going to do that? Are you going to change back again? You going to close it down? Are you going to continue with it? I just don't understand.
All right.
I beg the people to see where the government are going with the thing. Good night.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot. I have received some messages here while this caller was on the line. And They have indicated that for the most part, people really are comfortable because people understand that the locals are free. But the issue was with the presentation of an ID. And again, I'm just asking our people to be understanding. If people know you, then it's not an issue. But obviously, if we don't know you, they ask for an ID just to confirm that you do not have to pay. So it is something that is being done to ensure that it remains free for our people. I was also told that we had to put a chain at the back entrance to the stream. And you know, it's sad that we had to put that chain. But let me explain why. They say they put the chain to prevent the taxis from using that end with their guests to avoid paying the fee. I want people to hear me. We had to put a chain at the back end. That's by Swanee's, the guy Swanee there in Bath. Because when the taxis pull up to the front to drive in with their guests and are told that there's a fee for their guests, the Nivision taxi man reverse and go through Bath to try to get them, the guests them in the back way for free. And so we had to put up a chain there. So I'm just appealing to our taxi and tour operators as well. We make the place nice so you have a place to carry your people to. We are asking them to pay $5 US, that is all, to help us to defray the expenses down there. Well, imagine you come up to the gate and you're told that you reverse and go around and try to come to the back for free. So that's why we had to put the chain. So I'm just begging our people. The management now is saying most of the taxi operators are cooperating, but some of them, instead of encouraging their guests to pay the nominal fee, are trying to sneak their guests in the back way so that they don't pay. So the soap thing is a major challenge because some are absolutely refusing to abide by that rule. So again, I'm appealing to people. Listen, you don't go in the bath with your soap and your different things. You're not at home in your house, in your bathroom, in your house. You're in a public space that is being used by other people. I don't want your soapy water on me. And I don't want your concoction that you put in on your skin on me. That is for you and your privacy at home. Please, just let us be considerate of each other. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the line. Okay, let us ask that caller to call back in. We're not getting that call through. 469-1616, 469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. We have about 35 minutes left. We're going to take as many calls as we can in that period of time. And so I invite you to call in so that you can share your views and opinions. Let's go straight back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Premier.
Good evening to you.
I tuned into this program and I heard the end of your soliloquy about the bath, and I hadn't heard it before. What I heard you saying at the end, all that you repeated since then, is that you're begging people, pleading with our people to have some, understanding of what you're trying to do. It sounds like, well, clearly you're exasperated and you don't know what else can be done. But may I suggest some other kind of thinking for all of us who are listening, and for you as the person who's struggling with this issue, because the government has invested so much and it's being ignored and abused. Part of this is really a kind of cultural dissonance. People who separate themselves from the rest of society and see the rest of society, and particularly the people in power, as against them. This is not about them not caring about the bath or neither. It is the way that they are expressing their power against their government. It sounds very simple and it sounds insane if one doesn't understand it. They are getting back at North Brantley. I have been there at the bath, and I have had to tell people some of the things we are saying now, right here in this program, that you have been talking about. And asking them to, show some pride. It's about all of us showing pride in this place. We knew what it was like before. We see what it is now. We should be proud of it. But the same reason that people would destroy what is, it's the same reason that the taxi drivers would go to the back to try to get their guests in for free. That tells you a lot about the mentality of people who would do those kind of things. They are not connected with the national issue. For them, it's not about our nation. It's about your nation. You, as Mark Brantley, trying to get a lot of credit for all this stuff, and they're not going to allow it. I have heard that with my own ears. It sounds very simple, it sounds very ignorant, because it is. But that is the key. They think they are getting back at you. I spent a long time with one man there one evening, having a discussion about this and telling him this has nothing to do with the Premier, except that the Premier and his administration did this for Nevis, for us. And he was insisting it's the Premier who wants credit, and he now let him get no credit. Just listen to that. He now let the Premier get no credit for this. He's going to mess it up. Other people, the people who would come and defecate in the pool, which the workers there have told me as well has happened, that's the same reason. I've been there with friends, and we have pointed out certain things that I said to the folks who are in charge, this long list of things, nobody is going to spend time standing and reading that. I did 27 points. They just need to put some bold things that people understand. And inside the pool, we don't have as many instructions as we used to have before. I was there one evening, well, it wasn't evening exactly, it was like 5 o'clock. And a couple came with a 3-month-old baby, and the mother is taking the baby in. I don't know if she was going to dunk him or whatever, but she was going in the pool. And I had to explain to the woman, this baby's brain is not developed. Even if you're not putting him in the water, you are exposing his brain to this heat. And I proceeded to tell her some of what can happen. I mean, it's about educating some people. And that requires work, effort, patience, and you don't have the staff to do that, and they shouldn't have to do that. But I'm saying there are people who don't understand that this is for us or what the implications are. So the taxi driver who will take the people around, he's giving them a message, here we break rules. I will break the rules for you because I'm in charge right now. Part of this has to do with people's perception of power and powerlessness. They feel that in the face of the government they are powerless, and they feel that they can exercise their power in other ways, like giving his taxi driver, his taxi passengers free entrance by breaking the rules. Yeah, that's how people express themselves when they feel like they are powerless and they want to exercise power. And part of exercising power is through ignorance and breaking the rules.
So let me ask you, Carla, because this is a very fascinating perspective that you've brought. I've not heard it put that way. But in light of your observation, what then can we do? The reason I ask it is because obviously when we try to do development, we build a road, right now we're developing water, we're doing whatever. The idea is that we're doing that for the benefit of the island. Some projects people are in favor of, other projects people may not like. But the development of the Bath Stream, since that's what we're talking about, was really done to create an environment where people would be more comfortable, where you and your friends or anybody else for that matter could go there, could read a book, could enjoy the pool, have bathroom and changing facilities. And as you say, we knew what it was before, and we have tried to create that. I understand the people who have a mentality that I don't want Mark Brantley to get credit, although of course the Bath Stream doesn't belong to me, and in another election cycle and I'm no longer there, the idea and hope would be that whatever improvements and developments there will continue to inure to the benefit of our people for generations to come. But that aside, how do we get that taxi driver, how do we get these individuals to understand that investments in the national good, to try to create for this island an improvement from what we had, that it's really an investment in everybody? And indeed, that taxi driver and that person who would have made those comments, their taxpayers' money is what was used to do these very improvements. So this disconnect that you talk about, I understand your point, but my issue still is, how does one get to those people and say to them, listen, when an election comes, you vote for who you want to vote for. That's your right. You advocate and you make as much noise for whoever you support. Nobody can take that from you or frankly be upset with you for that. But once that is done and there is now development on the island, particular developments such as these, you use the language of national pride. These are things that we hope when the visions here and the visions come home, when they look at it, they say, wow, this is really good. And yet people are bent on destroying it. How do we reach those people? It's a very real concern that I have.
Well, you concluded that it's a minority who's doing this, and that is true. And I'm explaining that that minority feels that this is a way that they are empowering themselves. They are showing the government that they can step on them and do whatever. But it's always in the dark. It's always the breaking down that nobody can see, and in the morning you get to the bath and it's out of order or something because they have exercised their power the night before. What you do is you apply whatever laws, restrictions, everything across the board equally. I agree with the caller before who said, if you're going to charge a fee, you charge everybody the fee. You have said local people should get into a free. I happen to think and believe that a majority of people appreciate that and believe that. But then you have to put things in place, other measures in place that would apply to everyone. It is true that you can't go any place in the world, and I have traveled a lot of places, that you won't have to pay for these kinds of therapeutic, and that's what they are, therapeutic health factors that will help the society. These are therapeutic things to help the society. It helps people with arthritis and, all kinds of ailments. That's the history because of the sulfur in the water and the naturalness of it coming from our old volcanoes. It requires education. There are a lot of things that should be taught in the schools here that are not taught. So even young people don't know the benefits and the values. So it's work that has to be done across the board to educate the society so that you will have more buy-in and not so much resistance, even though it's a small minority. So much resistance where people feel empowered when they do these ignorant things. They feel empowered. But we have a very resistant society. As an aside, I want to say that I was reading, and I heard lots of people talking about this because I'm not on Facebook, so I don't see these things. I was reading about it, however, that on social media in St. Kitts and Nevis, they were talking about how many people, Donald Trump said he is going to deport here 68. Trump does not have a number and did not put it out. No such thing. The numbers that Trump has, or the Trump administration, are the numbers for Latin America, and they have announced them. St. Kitts and Nevis does not threaten Trump and his establishment. And of course he doesn't care, and he will eliminate anybody and everybody whenever he feels like it. But this was false information. But I'm raising it only because of the xenophobia that it put in place. The hatred of immigrants. People writing in and saying, they belong to us, welcome them back and kick out the immigrants here. Kick out the immigrant, not illegal, any immigrant. Kick out the immigrants here to bring them in, and a couple said, kick out the illegal immigrants. How does that make sense? In a country where the majority of the people have been immigrants someplace else, a majority of the people have been immigrants in the United States, have current relatives in those places who experience xenophobia every single day of the week. Xenophobia, Trump and his administration, very good at it. That's why you hear them saying everything Americans for Americans, and the code word, not very hidden very well, is white people who look like us. White Europeans particularly, who look like us. Everybody else, brown, black, everything else but white, not welcome. That's the xenophobia that I'm referring to. And how dare we have it in a little place like this, where black people are putting out this ignorance about other black people. Kick out the immigrants. The immigrants to this society have helped develop the place.
But just as we help develop America and everywhere
those
else.
Places,
yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Just as we have developed those places where we experience it and continue to experience it. And I know these things from personal experience because I have been a fighter in Canada and the United States. I take nothing sitting down. But I knew that I couldn't fight alone, so I always mobilized, and I always did it through education, and we always won. We managed to change federal laws in the Canadian government. We changed things across the United States. You have to do it in concert with others. And the best groups to fight with, you fight in coalitions. You fight across race and ethnicity. You fight across with mobilization across class. So we cannot sit back here. And I know from personal experience, the majority of the people from our places here in North America are silent people. We are not at the front of the marching line. We don't do that. We don't protest. We don't, just like how we don't do it here.
Mm-hmm.
We exercise our power to quiet rage. That's what's happening at the Bath Stream. That's my point of connecting these two.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Very,
You're welcome.
very enlightening comments, very erudite, and really gives us a different perspective. I'm very grateful for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking your calls. I realize other folks were trying to get in. Please be patient with us. But I think this caller had something very important to share, and I'm grateful for that. I think calls, that's what we try to do, to get calls that really educate us, and certainly I think her perspective was interesting because I had not heard that expressed before. We have about 23 minutes left, and we're taking your calls. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call, and we ask that you call in. But I think this caller point is really about education. How can we engage with our people better? It's really a call to the government as well to do a better job of setting out what it is we're trying to do. But the reality is that there'll still be some people, regardless of what you say, what you set out, how you explain it, that they will be resistant because they're actuated by other motives and other considerations. And people who are bent on destroying, because, as she said, somebody said, we're not supposed to get any credit. Mark Brantley not going to get any credit for this. The government shouldn't get any credit for this, so let's mash it up. We really need to get our people to understand that it's not about Mark Brantley. It's not about CCM. It's really about Nevis. When you turn on your tap and you get water, of course, if the CCM government has been the government to deliver, we will say that we've delivered a better water supply. But when you turn on your tap, the water isn't saying I'm not going to turn on because you're NRP. Or I'm going to stop running in an area because it's an NRP area. What is for everybody? The Bath Stream is for everybody. Nobody's asking you when you come in who you support. Nobody cares. So we really need our people to look at development and the benefit it brings. When the taxi man come, you're taking your guests to a place that you should be proud of. And you should be telling them, look at what we have done here. Look at what we have in Nevis. Not go around the back way to try and sneak them in for free. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, caller. You're on the air. Okay, we've lost the caller. Let's try this one. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Good evening.
Good evening.
While we're at the Bath, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. There is a property that was bought, I think, by your government, by your administration at the Bath. Can you tell us when it was bought, how much you paid for it, and what really are your intentions with that property?
Property was bought.
Thank you, and I'll listen offline.
Caller, before you go, please. A property was bought at the Bath. What do you mean?
I think it's the Bath. It's over at the Bath Plain.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Can you tell us when did you purchase the property? How much you paid for it, if you can say, and what really are your plans for that property for the people of Nevis?
All right. Caller, thank you very much. I asked for your clarification because we were talking about the Bath Stream, and I was wondering what you're talking about. But now I understand. I think the property you're talking about was a former property of Ursula Huggins that's on top of the hill there just above the cemetery. What we purchased that property for, the impetus was to expand the Bath Cemetery. The cemetery right here, what we call Britannic, the lands that come down and adjoin it, those are the lands that we purchased. The idea was that the cemetery needs expansion, and so we bought that land so that we could expand that public cemetery. When we approached, we were told that they would only sell all of it together. It had an an old residence on it, and it had the grounds there, etc. So that really was the main reason why we purchased. And the idea now is that we'll see what we can do with the rest of that property, whether we cut it and sell it, or we seek to do something with that property. We have not yet decided. Various government ministers have made various suggestions to the government, but we have not yet decided what we're going to do with it. I will have to find out what the exact price was and come back to you. I do not have it at the top of my head, and I'm minded always to give accurate information so that I'm not later accused of misleading. So if I can research that to find out the exact price that was paid and the amount of acreage that is there, I will come back with that caller. But the purpose for which we bought that property was to expand the burial ground. We actually wanted to buy a piece of it, and they said no, they will only sell the whole thing, and so we bought the whole thing. That is the reason for it. But thanks for the call, and I will get that information for sure and come back next week, God willing, and share that information with you. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Yes, good evening to you. Hello?
You hear me?
I'm hearing you now.
Okay, I'd just like to share with you something I heard you speak on your program earlier. With it. And you outline about was beating the high dignitaries pertaining on the renewable energy or something of that sort. So if you're going wrong, correct me please. One thing I heard you make in reference is that you and the Prime Minister have been in consistent discussion prior to the geothermal. But I would like to ask, in that aspect of the geothermal, will that really be a benefactor for the people of Singis and Nevis?
Well, that is a plan, caller. You'll get cheaper, cleaner energy.
Okay, but are we still in search to go with other avenues and geothermal? Because remember, we're still hearing about solar energy too, and wind energy. So
right.
These are the outline some of the projections going with if geothermal don't bring what we're looking at.
Well, it's not that geothermal doesn't bring. The idea is that you're going to have a mix of various forms of energy, all renewable. So solar, for example, is excellent, but usually only during the daytime when the sun is up. Geothermal is a great baseline power, so geothermal gives you a baseline all day, all night. Wind works when the wind is blowing. So you have different energy sources, and I suppose that's the idea. And of course, our ambition is to ultimately be in a position where we have enough energy that we could actually export energy to other islands, and we could have energy intensive industries.
Okay,
so,
well, you might make that quote. Yeah, I would like to ask, we have any young people informed with this projection that is laying out as a source of energy?
What do you mean young people informed? I'm not understanding
I mean like that. I'm talking in general form, like have you see any of this going into the social level or into the secondary level? So in the system that we call for some of the people to be active to that energy, we have to go to for the people or the people or the companies, but we have people generally or locally who do that kind of work.
Well, we've exposed quite a few people to training in the area of geothermal already. We have persons here at your local utility who are continually being educated about what to expect. We expect that that is going to continue. And as we get closer to the time when we can implement, the idea would be, of course, that our engineers and our people who are interested in a career in energy and renewable energy, that they will have that exposure. So that has been an ongoing effort, and we hope that that effort will continue so that our people will be in a position to take the jobs and take control of this industry when it comes, because I think it's coming. So the answer is yes, we have been engaged and we will continue to engage.
I give thanks, and I hope that we see our youth be able to apply themselves for this industry that are using to resources. That's all. Now,
okay.
I would like to add with your quote on the bad bill and the bad thing. I don't use the bad thing, and if I use the soap, I go by the pipe, not into the pan them. I mean, look for that avenue.
Right.
I use the pipe in itself. I will encourage one
If you're using soap, use the pipe. So when you're done, wash yourself from the pipe, you can able to go into this thing itself now and relax your body into that aspect. Now, I just see a lot of nastiness going on in that area still. People take tissue paper and drop them in the newfound pond that is established with the shed over it. Now, I find these are some very nasty aspects to looking to engage in a betterment in the environment and the aspect of the surrounding area. But within that movement, I'm just calling on people. When you do the thing, set them up and you have garbage bin around. Just throw them in the bin, man. There's nothing hard for that to do. Just put them in the bin, man. Make the place look more tidy. You see? I'm calling on that because it don't look good to say you're crying things and you left them there. You know, you don't want it moving it in the garbage bin. There's a garbage bin around it. So let us see these things work hand in hand for the betterment of the area that is as a historical place. Not even white boy, none about that team there for the African people. Have a lovely night, brother.
All right. Thanks a million for that. And yeah, I join you because that's what we're trying to do. Let us all enjoy what we have together. Let us take pride in what we have. Let us protect what we have. And if some rules have been put in place to better allow us to enjoy it together, then nothing is wrong with that. This caller is talking about people coming here, bringing things, dropping them in the stream. Why? We have garbage containers there. We have receptacles there. And I ask all the time, you know, because I see it. People driving along the road, they just fling out their bottle, fling out the styrofoam container, fling out the plastic bag with garbage. And you ask, well, do we not have pride in our island? Pride. Some of us don't have a passport anywhere else. This is all we have. Nevis, St. Kitts. Well, if this is what we have, why shouldn't we protect it? Cherish it? Take pride in it? This is a man's home, is his castle. Well, this is our little castle. We're the smallest country in the Americas. Let us protect our little country. Why would we want to mash it up? We have things here that other people wish they had. I saw somebody with a quote the other day that said, I live where other people holiday. Right now people up in Canada and America and UK and all over cold. And they wish they could be down here on Phoenix Beach sitting down. Having a killer bee down by sunshine, relaxing. They wish they could be in the hot stream, bath stream right now, relaxing. Wish they could be here having 2 mango fresh off the tree. We have these things. And many of us not only take them for granted, we are, it appears, intent on destroying them. Why? God has given us these gifts. Look at St. Kitts right next door to us. St. Kitts don't have the hot springs like we do. 2 miles away. For Kittitians to enjoy that experience, they have to come to Nevis. So it is for Nevisians. Protect it. Cherish it. Love it. Take pride in it. Because it's ours. It has nothing to do with government. CCM don't own the Bath String. Mark Brantley don't own the Bath Stream. Just like Sim Daniel never own it and NRP never own it. It belongs to all of us. So let us take care of what we have, ladies and gentlemen. Please. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. We have 10 minutes left. You're on the air.
Yes, I have to call back. Brantley, I understand something about what people talk and call integrity in public life and all those things, and you must reveal this and you must reveal that. But my understanding is that when you elect a government, you elect people to lead. Is that so?
Yes.
Okay. And not every single little plan that the government have in mind, they have to make public too early. if I am wrong. Because if you're going to make every little plan that you have public early, and then should things don't work out the way you would like it to work out, then people start saying all kind of things as if they don't understand. But I could read something in the Bible where God told a man to do a certain thing. And the man didn't reveal it to his wife, otherwise, you know what would happen? Not every little thing. So some people calling in and asking all sorts of things. Oh, why you plan to do it down there? That day. While it is true that you're public servants, you're also elected to lead. I mean, I say you, I don't mean you, I mean government.
Mm-hmm.
I mean government. And leaders have to lead. Leaders and followers cannot be the same. So, government has to be careful that every little plans that they plan, they have to throw out everything because somebody wants to do this and wants to do that. For what? I don't understand it. People going to say, oh, why are they dang there? I say, what they want you to tell them, that you're going to send a backer down there to work for a week and dig up the road, and then if the backer go there for a week and they start to cuss and say, you they tell them you're going there for a week? Brantley, I hope that our people come up to a better standard here. Good night.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Caller, I hear you, but I also understand that people want information, and I also understand that it is government's duty to be transparent. It is not everything that we will talk about, because sometimes, frankly, it would not be good for the country if certain things are said or how they are said. We have matters, for example, of national security, that you can't come always and say things because it's important and it may jeopardize other situations, including the security of the country. But I am a firm believer in being open and being forthright, as much as that is possible without creating any difficulties. I hear the point that you're making, and what I have done tonight, for example, I said that we have some major projects that are being offered. We have not yet said anything publicly, and I have said to these developers we will not say anything publicly until such time as they're ready, and that we're satisfied that they're ready, and then we can talk about it. So I get you, but I think there's a balance that needs to be struck, and I don't get offended when people ask questions, because I said once I am using government money, it means that I'm using taxpayers' money. It means that people have a right to know what is going on, and if we can provide that information without creating any anxiety or jeopardizing plans and programs, then absolutely I feel that people ought to be able to know what is going on. Of course, some people, and you know the way they behave, it's funny sometimes, you know, sometimes how people respond to situations, but that is what it is, and we understand that people are motivated and actuated by a whole set of, you know, different considerations. No two people are going to be alike, and as a result of that, we appreciate what differences they exist. But my proposition simply is that even in our differences, be they political, be they in our views, let us remember that this island called Nevis and this federation called St. Kitts and Nevis belongs to us. It doesn't belong to Mark Brantley. It doesn't belong to Terence Drew. It doesn't belong to Labour. It doesn't belong to CCM. It belongs to us. And if a road is built from Bastia to St. Paul's, everybody who drives on that road gets the benefit of it. If a road is built from Charlestown to Hanley's Road, everybody benefits who drives on that road, and they benefit equally. So when there's development in the country, when Four Seasons came and opened here, Four Seasons opened under an NRP administration. I have never heard anybody say that Four Seasons belonged to NRP. I have never heard that to get a job at Four Seasons you had to show that you were NRP. And Four Seasons has been there for 3 decades. Well, how many people would have worked and benefited from that? How many people have got their start at Four Seasons? We have a call center that has opened up in Brownhill now. Spoke to the chap just on what's today? Last week, Friday. The owners. And they said that this year they'll be hiring an additional 50 workers at that call center. 50. Well, the call center don't belong to me, don't belong to CCM. I'm not going to say to the man, well, you know, you must ask people who they vote for if you're going to employ them. No. The call center has come, and every person who can get work there, go and find work there. And I keep appealing to our people. I tell people when election time come, I'm going to campaign hard. And I'm going to try my best to persuade people that the CCM is the best party for the island of Nevis. But whilst doing that, I respect people's right to determine who they're going to vote for. Because you know why? Nobody could determine my right for me. And if I want to have the right to vote for who I want to vote for, you must have that right as well. I can't want it for me and try to deny you. That's why NRP got itself in all these problems, you know, because they took all these hundreds of people off the voters list illegally. They wanted to dictate and say who can vote and who can't vote. They ran themselves into major problems. I am not that. I am not of that view. And I am saying once the dust settles and people don't vote who they want to vote for, that government, whether you vote for them or not, is our government. When Prime Minister Drew goes wherever he goes as our Prime Minister. Whether you like it or not, whether you vote for him or not, is neither here nor there. And when there's development in the country, it's our development. That is how we need to think. That is how we need to see these things. They're being done for our benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, the band has struck up at 2 minutes to 10. This bandman here like to strike up very early, you know. Anyway, it means that I have to, because once the band struck up, I gotta go. You know, the band is the entity that controls things here. But I want to thank Von Radio. They always have someone here helping me and making sure that the show runs smoothly. And I am truly, truly grateful for all the time that we've been allowed here over the years. That is our show. The band has struck up. It means we have to go. I want to thank all the callers who called in, all the very fascinating perspectives that were shared tonight. And let us continue to be our brother's keeper and our sister's helper. Nevis needs all of us, and all of us must see Nevis as our own. That's our show. This show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Von Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. Wherever you are, have a good night, a good rest, and may God bless and keep you. Thank you.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its